Isn't it crazy that this is the one thing I said I'd never do? Well, I fucking did it. Molly, didn't you say you don't want a tongue piercing because it might fuck with your singing? Didn't you say like 2 videos ago that you weren't going to self-pierce anymore? And didn't you mention like a couple of months back that anyone who pierces their tongue is really stupid and that you would never do it because it's really dangerous? Yes. Also, can you still not fucking talk properly? It is a week tomorrow since I pierced my own tongue. I'm talking a little bit better now. It doesn't hurt to talk, hence why I've picked now to record this clip. But because I've still got the swell bar in, I am lisping like a wanker. No offence to anyone who has a lisp. I mean, you probably didn't get it because you shoved a needle through your own tongue, so that's where the idiot part comes in. This isn't clickbait. You're about to see the footage of me piercing my own tongue. I pretty much didn't talk a single word in the video because I, funny enough, was quite occupied with a needle through my tongue and was concentrating, so didn't really think to speak. I wanted to make a little video to go with this footage, just to speak about why you shouldn't do this, why I personally did it, etc. I can already see how many views this is going to get and how much hate I'm going to get. It's expected. So originally, I said I wasn't going to get a tongue piercing because I was worried it would give me a lisp that would affect with my singing. Obviously, singing is like my life. And I'd like to clarify right now, I can still sing, but the tongue bar is giving me a lisp. I have quite high hopes that the second that I get a smaller bar, I'll be able to talk with no problem. But if you look, the bar is really long, so it hangs either up or down, usually when it's in my mouth down. But because it's really long and it does hit around in my mouth, I do have a lisp. I can't confirm or deny whether I'll be able to speak properly in like a week when I have a smaller bar. Again, high hopes I will be able to, but we'll soon find out. And obviously, if it does like majorly affect with my singing or my speaking and it's just like too much, I will take it out. But yeah, I wasn't originally going to get this because I was worried it would affect my singing, but after doing some research and speaking to other people with tongue bars, they said it will give you a lisp for the first couple of weeks whilst it's like a longer bar and you're learning to talk with it, but then you'll just speak like you always have. So I risked it, knowing that if it did fuck up, I could take it out. So that's the first thing to clarify. Number 2, why did I do this myself? Is it just quarantine boredom or being impatient? Not at all. If this was, say, a rook piercing, which is another piercing I'm going to be getting, probably my next one, which is just, you know, an ear piercing, cartilage piercing, there's no way in hell I would think to pierce that at home because I don't like home piercing anymore and because it's a stupid idea to pierce anything from home. Apart from like earlobes, a lot of people do that. But yeah, say my rook, I am waiting to do that after quarantine, no matter how long it's going to take, I'm not going to do it from home. So if it isn't out of quarantine boredom, and I prefer getting professionally pierced now, why did I do this? So I have a lovely phobia called emetophobia. Emetophobia is basically a phobia of sickness and vomiting. I've had this literally my entire life. I've always grown up with it. I've always felt the same way I do right now about it. I've never had like a majorly traumatic sickness experience or anything that should have actually given me it. It's just always been a fear of mine, and I think that's down to like lack of control or something. Anyway, I've worked on it with a therapist. It's a lot better now than it was, but it's still there. When I get anxious, I can barely even open my mouth to speak because my mind starts playing tricks on me that if I open my mouth too wide or stick my tongue out, I'm going to heave. But pretty much, if when I'm anxious I try to go, I would have a panic attack. Now, anyone when they're getting a piercing obviously gets anxious, me included, and it's usually like my general anxiety, but it gets worse. My main fear with any piercing I get is not the needle going through at all. I couldn't care less. Needles don't freak me out. It's me worrying that for some reason it's going to make me feel nauseous. That's always the fear. And I remember actually when I got my septum pierced, the piercer said just after she'd done it, she was like, "You've gone kind of pale, do you feel sick?" And that was my most anxiety-inducing part of the whole experience. Because even though I didn't feel sick at all, and most people would just say, "Oh no, I'm fine," just lost the colour in my cheeks because it was like shock. Obviously I said, no, I don't, and then panicked because I was like, oh my god, if I've gone pale, that means I'm going to be sick. Emetophobes will get it. Basically, the thought of going into a professional piercing studio, which was my plan, I planned to get my tongue done once quarantine was over at a studio, the studio I go to in town, which is literally 10 minutes from my house, like it's not hard to get to. Until one night when I was anxious and I was thinking about getting my tongue pierced, and then I thought, how am I actually going to do that with my phobia? So long and short, there's no way in hell I could have got it professionally. The thought of sticking my tongue out and having someone shove a needle through it that isn't myself, that lack of control, just freaked me out big time. Most piercings freak me out to get, let alone something in my mouth. And if you've been watching here for a while, then you'll know I did my smiley and my tongue web before, neither of which I have anymore. My tongue web grew out and my smiley piercing I just didn't really like anymore. I would never have done them professionally either. I did them myself because, again, the thought of someone being in my mouth just makes me anxious. So cutting a long story short, the answer should have been don't get it done because I can't get it done professionally and I definitely shouldn't be piercing it myself. And some of you might be asking, why can I not pierce it myself? I've pierced my helix myself and my flap myself and my lip and my nostril. Why not tongue? If you look underneath your tongue, now some people's are less visible than others, but if you look, especially with a torch, you can easily see them. Down the sides of your tongue are two massive veins. The veins are very big, very thick, and they take up a large majority of underneath your tongue. Those are literally the main veins in your body. If you go through one of those, you could bleed out. If it didn't kill you, it would definitely cause a lot of damage. Then you have a web down the middle of your tongue. Another thing that you shouldn't pierce through. Your tongue is absolutely full of nerves, so you can cause nerve damage, lose feeling in your tongue, lose taste, and lose the ability to feel texture properly. Healing a tongue piercing is an absolute nightmare. I obviously have had a lot of piercings, still have a lot of piercings, so I've had a lot of different ones to heal. I heard tongue piercings were a nightmare, but I didn't know quite how much until I've had my own. I'm out of the worst part of it now, but oh my god. Your tongue gets so swollen. Your speech is fucked. You can't eat properly. Even swallowing is hard. You know when you have a cold and you can't swallow properly, it's exactly like that for the first few days. It's such a hard one to heal, it's so complicated. And it's so easy for it to go wrong. I'm putting this footage up purely because I know people will be interested and will want to see it. Hence why I'm putting it on YouTube, even though it is absolutely disgusting. And I would like to put a warning that there is blood and there is dribble. There's literally so much freaking spit coming from my mouth. So if that kind of thing grosses you out, then just don't watch this because you're going to hate it. But already I've had so many messages saying please say you recorded it. I really want to see. And I know people will be interested because any home piercing videos people enjoy, and something as complicated as a tongue piercing, people like it because it's risky. But what I want to make very, very, very clear is I don't promote this at all. I do not recommend doing this in any way, shape or form. And I always say that on my piercing videos, self-piercing is not a good idea, but especially with your tongue, because if it goes really, really wrong, you could literally die from it. And I think we can all agree that dying from suffocation or bleeding out is not really the best way to die. And another thing is as well, is not everyone's anatomy is good for a tongue piercing. Some people's veins are too big to pierce, in between. And if I'd have had that problem and not realised it, I literally would have just hurt myself. It really is one that has to be done professionally, and I already know I'm going to get a load of hate on this and people are going to go crazy at me. But it's done now, and luckily 1 week on, it's healing as it should, I think. I've never had a tongue piercing, but from what my friends have said who have got them, it seems to be fine. I hope everyone's doing okay in isolation. I know it's horrible, so I'm sending all my love to all of you guys, and I'll see you all next time. Oh my god. Yeah. Yeah, I've literally just done it, so give me a minute. I need to like. Fuck me, it hurt doing it yourself, yeah. Oh my god. Oh, ow. Oh my god. Oh, I think I did it a good place though.